Welcome to episode 139 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Shawn Uyosa. Shawn is an Irish comedian working out of Dublin. He is a very funny man, and he is joining us today to talk about his comedy inspirations, his comedy career, and because this is one of the episodes I should have released during the Christmas period, we're going to be talking about Elf, and we're going to be talking about the Santa Claus. You can find Shawn on Instagram at SU Comedy, and you can find him streaming on Twitch. He is just Shawn Uyosa. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes, heading over to Spotify, rating, reviewing, liking, subscribing. All of those good things really help us out. You can also go to Instagram, where we put up art to go with each episode, at The Endless Cast. It's a great place to reach out to us, send us a message, suggest something for us to watch, disagree with our opinions, agree with our opinions. You can do that there. Our messages are open. Or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. As I've said with all of the guests that I've had on this month, and I really should stop doing this because I'm just adding 30 seconds to the opening of every podcast, is I will record a proper intro for you and put it at the start ahead of this. But now what happens is, like, there's a big intro and then I come in and go, and of course, welcome Shawn Uyosa. I will of course do a proper intro for you at the beginning of this, and now that's in there twice, but there's also an intro which makes it in there 3 times. So we're recording some additional episodes coming into Christmas, having some guests on. Ordinarily it's just myself and 2 friends, Kevin and Brian, giving you some context for what it is. And generally what we do is we're just nerds. We're just comic loving, movie watching, video game playing. We all went to animation school in some sense. Kevin is a tattoo artist at Dublin Inc. Brian's like a tech guy in Cork at this point with like a lot of illustration background. I'm an animation guy, though I've been working in like a software company for a chunk of time. But we're just nerds. We just love movies and shit, and especially with the comedy thing, I just want to have interesting people on and chat to them as well, and open it up a bit. For the listeners, Shawn Uyosa is a comedian based in Dublin, and I think I met you about early 2022 at like a Stitches Gong show, whether or not you remember. I definitely met you around subsequently. You were sitting down in front of audiences and just frustrating them.
Oh wow, that's a blast from the past.
I guess you're not doing that bit anymore.
Nah, I haven't done it in a while. Wow. That's crazy.
It was fun. When did you start doing comedy? When did you start doing stand-up?
I started stand-up in 2018. Started back in 2018. I was in secondary school at the time, so I wasn't allowed to do the comedy clubs because I was underage. So, would you know about All of the Acts Comedy Club?
Yes, yeah. I never did it, but I think I went to it once before the pandemic, you know.
Yeah, he was doing a center. It was like an art center gig for Culture Day 2018, and he booked me for it because I wouldn't be allowed to do his club, and that was kind of my first gig, and I hated it, and I didn't do stand-up for like another 9 months after that, and then ever since then. Yeah.
So you obviously loved comedy because you wanted to try it, right?
No, to be honest, I didn't even want to perform stuff. I kind of just loved writing, and I wanted to write comedy, but I realized that nobody's just going to have some random kid write for them if they don't know if the jokes are funny. So I was like, I'm going to have to perform this to prove that I can write it. And that's kind of how I got into it. Then I was like, I just love performing as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so...
How about you? How do you get into it?
So I've just been like an art guy fucking ever, and like my path in school was just like I can either go like these acting courses or these art courses, and I did the art stuff, and I did the art stuff for like 10-12 years after college, and I just kind of hit a point where I'm just like, okay, I think I'm tired of the art bit, because it's like okay, it's my day job at this point, and it's paying the bills just about, but like let's do some of the acting stuff. And like I started trying to make shorts, like live action shorts, with some friends, and they were always comedy veering, and then that turned into like, oh, here's an improv class, let's go do that. And then like improv was very much like, yeah, I'm trying to be funny with a group of people, and it slowly sort of turned into like, yeah, but like I could do without all of these people, and I could stand on stage on my own with stuff that I've pre-written, and Like, I really love doing stand-up. I like having, like, I guess I kind of said that, like, as much as I love doing improv, like, walking onto a stage for 40 minutes with nothing is scarier than going on with a script, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
It's
also,
like,
what year did you start?
It like, improv and stuff was pre-pandemic. I was sketch writing through the pandemic, but stand-up was 22. Like, it was just early 22, and I started with a gong show as well, because it was just like, my mind was like, okay, if I'm shit at this, I get gonged off and I get to drink, you know, like I'm either going to be up here for 5 minutes, and it's only fucking 5 minutes. I've done enough teaching and standing in front of people, and if I'm bad, I get to sit down early. Like, so that was my mindset on it. Like, it was there's nothing to lose from trying it, and I love it. And like, I've had a quiet couple of months since Edinburgh, but yeah, I like it a lot. You went over to Edinburgh for a bit there this year as well, right? You were there for 2 weeks?
I was there for a week.
Okay.
I'm not too sure if I'll go back next year again, to be honest. It's just very expensive. And if I go, I think I'd like to bring a full show. How about you? Are you going next week?
We're thinking about it. Like, it's on the table. Like, maybe not the full thing. Like, we did the full thing this year as the improv group, because the thought process was like, this is, you know, like, looking, people reach a point in their life where they decide they have to run a marathon, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm going to get the merit badge. I'm going to get the Boy Scout thing. I'm going to do Edinburgh. I'm not going to creep my way towards it and do 3 days and then a week and then 2 weeks. I'm going to do it in 1 year. I'm going to do the whole fucking thing. I did the whole fucking thing. Whether or not it was a success, like, it was fun. We got the merit badge. We did the thing. We're kind of talking about doing a smaller, like, a 2-week run, and, like, maybe a subset of the group. And, you know, I want to lean more on the stand-up stuff as well as the improv. Like, the improv became very much the focus while I was there. But I had a blast. Like, I really enjoyed it. It is expensive. It is, like, I slept on a couch for a month.
Wow.
And I got quite used to sleeping on couches, which is good, right?
But do you think you definitely did come out of Edinburgh though a better, like, performer improv, do you think?
I think so. I think there's, like, even the 6 of us, you know, the 6 of us from that group, like, we are way less flustered. There's no way you don't, like, if we thought about it in terms of, like, the Bag of Cats show that we run is a monthly show where we get to do an improv set at the end of it. Like, we put it together so we get to do some improv, and we do a 20-minute set. So in 12 months we get to do, I'm bad at maths, 4 hours worth of improv in 12 shows. Is that right?
Yeah.
3. So maybe we do 4 hours of improv in 12 months in front of an audience. And in the month of August, we did 25-hour-long shows.
Yeah.
So, you know, we are just, and, like, some of them were amazing, most of them were fine, some of them were absolute disasters. So I think it's like, we're not phased anymore. We're not, if something's going wrong, we're not getting out of breath and going, oh, okay, what do we do? It's just like, if something's going wrong, we're just like, fuck it, let's keep going. You know, it's like, it's ironed out a lot of the, like, nervousness.
So I get you. Yeah,
that's good.
That's why I'm still on the fence myself on if I'll go or not, because I'm like, I'm not, like, I did a show and it wasn't successful at all. Like, we did 6 shows and we had to pull, like, 5 of them. So I don't know if I'd want to go again next year to do that again.
Yeah.
But I also know that I'll be able to get to do a lot of gigs, and it would be good to just get better at stand-up while I'm there. So I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, putting on a show,
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. The flyering thing is a pain. We did as well as we did. As much as we would love to think that we are a great draw as an improv group, Reese Kidd was before us and after us, and that man can flyer for, like, an Olympic team. That guy, I would watch that guy. His show would be on, you know, and he'd have performers up, and it would be 20 minutes into an hour, and he would still be on the street pulling, like, he would meet 5 women and go, come on, and he would just drag them into a room and sit them down to a show that was ongoing. Like, that guy was an absolute flyering force. He did an amazing job, and like, we were very grateful for his efforts.
Yeah, because he got me to flyer with him a couple times, and I actually learned a lot about flyering just from flyering with him. And
Yeah,
he's very, very smart, very good business wise,
yeah,
as a comedian. Like,
yeah.
nice guy.
He's pushing it anyway. Did you so the writing thing is your like was your initial impetus? Like, do you want to write? Do you want to write like TV sitcoms, stand-ups? Like, are you veering that way?
It's kind of a tough one. When I started, that's what I wanted. I did want to be a writer. I never really saw myself doing stand up like that.
Yeah.
But now that I'm so into stand up,
Mm.
everything else has just been pushed to the side. Like, I don't
Okay.
even really focus on. But I always said, I was saying it to a couple comedians actually last couple of days, that if I ever did make it as a stand up and I was successful and I made money from it, I think I would quit it and focus on like TV and writing behind the scenes more than, because I think stand up is very, very hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's a
No,
very
it
tough
is
thing.
hard.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not I feel like people don't also appreciate how hard it is to be a stand up. Like, it's very overlooked, but that's why I always kind of respect anybody who even tries it, because it's a tough thing to do for years. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
people stop doing it, it's tough. So,
100%. Are you aware of Mob as a group? Mob as an improv
yeah.
group? As you know,
I
they
don't know the
do.
members, but
Okay,
I know the thing. It's Wigwam.
it's Wigwam. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
gone to their shows or like. Um, you should get in touch with Mate, which is a show run by Kate Moylan and Mikey Fleming, and they have a kind of variety thing on. So they'll have stand-ups in, um, and that's a once a month thing. But I bring them up specifically because they run like TV pilot and feature film script writing workshops.
Already.
So it's once a week. They get together on Zoom or in person, and they like by the end of it, you've got a structure of a script writing thing out of it. And they've worked with a bunch of their like members and their sort of former students on like the BBC Writers' Room pitches and stuff. So they're building this little stepping stone thing towards like pitching towards broadcasters and stuff. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, it would be
Thank you
really
very
worth
much.
digging into
Yeah, thank
that
you
a
very
bit.
much. Yeah, I'll look into that. Thanks.
Who would you say are your like comedy inspirations or icons or like?
I think my biggest one would have to be Dave Chappelle. He's
Okay.
like my biggest. He's the guy who really got me into it, because I lived in Nigeria for 2 years, and I was there when I got to Nigeria 2015. There was no Netflix, and then 2016 around it came in. Netflix came to Nigeria, but my father wouldn't let me have night Netflix. Thought it was a distraction or whatever.
Yeah.
So I had no Netflix for the 2 years, and then I came back to Ireland in 2017, and I would go on Netflix and I'll just put stuff on my list because it changed so much in the like 3 years since I'd last used it.
Yeah.
And then one day a trailer comes up, and when you go into Netflix, they have like those trailers for like shows.
Yeah.
A trailer came up and it was like, oh, the greatest is back, the best to ever do it, 10 years out of the game. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then it was like Dave Chappelle. And I'm like quite big into, I'm not as big a fan as I was then, but I'm still quite a big fan of pro wrestling.
Right.
And I think it was the like theatrics of this guy in the smoke, and he had like a proper entrance, and the crowd's going crazy.
And
yeah,
he's branded and the cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all that. So I was just like, who is this guy? So I clicked it and I was like, I'll watch like 10 minutes of this, then turn off. I doubt it'll be funny. And it was the best thing I'd ever watched. Like, it was so creative and funny at the same time. And that was really what made me start. So I'll say he was like my biggest inspiration. Like, even you mentioned the sit down joke I used to do. I had a whole set and I kind of threw it all away because I was like, oh, I want to do different stuff. But when I watch back some of those sets of me doing my old material, it will be me literally doing the exact same mannerisms as Dave Chappelle. Like, there's a little bit I'll do where I'll touch my chest, and Dave Chappelle has a bit like that where he touches his chest the exact same way. So I'd say he's probably my biggest inspiration.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm just doing the maths on like, okay, so you started, you were underage, that was 2018, and then 2015 the Chappelle, because like I was watching Dave Chappelle stand up when I was in college in like 2004, And I'm just like I was waiting that 10 years for Dave to come back, you know. Like I had watched the Chappelle show as it was well, like it wasn't airing, but like because it wasn't airing anywhere here, we were just like picking up like torrents and like YouTube clips of the Chappelle show, I can't even remember the name of his like earliest specials. Did you go back and listen to like
Killing Him Softly?
Killing Him Softly. I had audio of that. Just had it like the album, and I just listened to that while I was working in college the whole time. And I do remember like somebody I was in college with was like, "No, there's definitely video on that file," and I was like, "Huh?" And I realized if I put it into a different player, the whole fucking like the video was there as well. There's a whole separate layer to this.
That's so funny. So it was your biggest inspiration then?
I mean, growing up, Eddie Murphy Raw and Delirious and like Richard Pryor on the Sunset Strip were like huge for me. Billy Connolly, and then it was just always like panel shows or like light entertainment that was on. Like it's cheesy as all hell now, but I used to love like Lenny Henry had a show on a Friday night in the UK, and it was a very like sketch and variety show. And you know, I just loved stand-up, and like Connolly was amazing as well because his stories were just, I don't know if you've ever watched much Billy Connolly, but like he would just talk for 15 minutes and then he'd go, "What was I telling you about? Oh yeah, the clarinet player." And the clarinet player happened 15 minutes ago, and you've just been on a wander, and the whole audience goes, "What the fuck? How did that happen? You know, how did we get so lost on this?"
So those were people you watched like when you were young.
Yeah.
So then why? But you didn't want to do stand up at the time. Yeah. So what made you eventually want to start when you started?
So like I'm a late bloomer. I'm a slow learner. Like I remember like getting at it. I didn't know what was what. I didn't know how to even go about it. I didn't have I didn't know where there was a comedy club in Dublin. I didn't know like how would you even get onto it at that point. Like I remember like working in first year in college and going, it'd be cool to kind of do comedy, and I would be like in this warehouse I was working in, like trying to write jokes in my head, but then I just put it away and focused on college forever. And it took, you know, a long time before I just worked up the balls to go, why the fuck am I not doing this? Like, why am I not, like, there's no stakes to this. A lot of like doing the improv stuff, this is like, it took a lot of maturing and learning and getting like, now this is, you're interviewing me and I'm just giving you like my psychology on shit, but like my friend was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go surfing this weekend." I was like, "Surfing? You're just gonna walk into the water with a board? Do you need a license? Do you have to get lessons? Do you have to like I'm so fucking like lawful good. I feel like I need permission for all of these things." And it took so long for me to go, you know, the only barrier to doing anything you want to do is just starting. And if you go to comedy shows and you see where the level is, it's just like, there's nothing to stop me doing. Like, I'm at least as good as the worst person here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I guess.
And even I went to Chicago in the end of March, and I spent most of the summer over there.
What year is this?
Just this year. I've got a friend living over there now, and I went over. Like, I just quit my job because I just was done with it. And I had some money saved post-pandemic, and I hadn't seen my friend in like 5 years. He bought a house. He had a basement I could live in that was basically an apartment. So it was like, sweet.
Yeah.
So I just went over there for like 3.5 months. Wow. And I was like, I'm just going to hang out with him, and we'll drive around Illinois, and I'll do stand-up. And it was an absolute blast. But the first thing I did was like, okay, let's go see an open mic. And I just went and watched. It was like, yeah, this is Dublin. This is bullshit. This is not to be reductive, but like, I'll happily get up in here in this room and do my bollocks as well. And like, you know, it's just people trying jokes. It's grand.
But were there a lot more gigs available there?
100%. Oh, it was like I would talk to people over there, and it's like, look, whatever about the booked shows and whatever about the rate of shows that you're doing now, because you're getting good traction for Dublin because you're a very funny man.
Thank you very much.
But like, before I went away, the only regular open mic that was an open mic where you could just show up and sign up was Giggles. You know, everything that calls itself an open mic, you put your name on a list and they come back to you within a month or a couple of months, right? Yeah. Giggles is the only one where you turn up on the day, sign up on the sheet, do your 5 minutes, head off to your next gig or whatever there might be. So that was every week when I was starting. and then they moved to a bi-weekly thing. So it turned into a situation where there was one open mic every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now you have the spot at the International as well, and maybe the Circle Sessions if you can. I don't know that you can do both there at the same. So maybe you've got, you know, one every 2 weeks, one every, like, so, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got maximum 2 a week. I got to Chicago, I opened this Google spreadsheet that was publicly shared. It was a list of a half dozen open mics on Monday, a half dozen open mics on Tuesday, a half dozen open mics on Friday. So, like, the Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Saturday, I think, because they're like paid gigs, you'd get maybe 2 open mics in the city that you could just rock up to. But I just had a bike and I would just cycle. I would do 3 open mics a night for 12 weeks. Now, whether or not I got any better, who fucking knows, but I'm more comfortable standing on stage being shit now. But it was just an absolute blast. And you just like do your set, rock on to the next bar, see the same people you saw at the last bar, head to the third spot, close out the place until people get exhausted. I know that the comedy community has existed for a long fucking time and everybody knows this and it's just news to me learning it, but like people get exhausted and giggles when there's 20 names on the list and everybody's working through their 5 minutes. One of the best open mics I went to, and best because it was a cool bar and it was a good vibe, but there's regularly 40 or 50 names on the list. Everybody got 4 minutes. There was no host bullshitting between it. They just went, hey, keep it going, our next act is bang, and they would just halfway through it they'd switch to a new host and it would just go until 2 a.m. And it's not about it's like, it's great if there's an audience there, but it really is people just trying to say the words out loud for the first time and see if it gets any traction or if they're tripping up over a sentence or if they're whatever. And it was really just everybody's just getting in as many reps as they can and tightening up line after line by saying it a few times a night. And if Sorry.
Pardon?
And if there's an audience there, that's plus. It's a bonus.
Yeah. See that, but that's I almost feel like that's how it should be, because like a problem that I've actually been struggling with is just saying the lines. Like I've been trying to work on last week because I do have a thing of if I'll have a new bit and I'll say say it's a 3-minute bit, has 8 jokes in it. Mm-hmm. If the first joke doesn't get a laugh, I'll just abandon the whole bit. So I've been trying to train myself, even last night, the doc, just being like, I don't care if the crowd's laughing or not, just saying what I have. So I feel like even that way in Chicago, that is going to prepare all those comics a lot more for the future. And have them just being like, okay, I'm just going to say my lines. I don't care if I'm getting laughs or not. Just going to go for it. So, and also another thing I was going to ask you was, you remember you were saying about the lawful good, and how before you had to like make sure you got permission and all that kind of stuff. So do you think it was like a big change for you then to go straight to Chicago just like that, or was that something you had planned already? Or
I had planned that a little bit. Like there's a lot of my life that led to me going there's a lot of my life that led to me sort of like breaking away and saying, okay, I need to change fucking shit. Like, and what's really frustrating is that at my age, this is officially classed as a midlife crisis, which is really fucking galling. But like during the pandemic, my father got sick, so I looked after him for a year, and I would wake up at 8 a.m. and look after him till 11 o'clock at night. And my brother would take over through the night shift, and it was just a solid year of that until he passed away. And he was 90 years old at that point, and it was, he had a long life, and he died at home, well cared for and loved, in no pain. Like, it's the best case scenario, I guess. But then there was another like X amount of months of pandemic, and then coming out of it, and then going, fuck it, I'm starting stand up and doing this, that, and the other, and had savings. And I was just like, like when there was a couple of times during it where I'm like driving in behind an ambulance, trying to tell the people I'm working for while doing my full-time job working from home that I need to go and do this, and they're asking me for an email, and I'm like, I'm fucking quitting this job. I hate this fucking job. I'm doing this at the same time. I have to get the fuck out of this fucking job because it's the least important thing I'm doing. So look, it was a big change and a shift in mindset to be a little more selfish and try and make choices for myself rather than for what I think people want. But that's my own subconscious. Like you, I need to bring it back to you though, because like you're the guest. But like you obviously, that wasn't a concern. I mean, you decided you wanted to perform and just went and did it?
Yeah, I'm kind of like in a weird space as well because I am doing it, but I also have just graduated college. I did law and criminology, and it's one of them ones where I probably should be trying to get a proper job with proper money, but I also know that with stand up, that's still kind of my priority. So I think if I got a proper job, I don't think I'd even last there very long. Like I work at a super value in where I live in Chocolate now, and I told her before when I got the interview, I was like, oh yeah, I can work every day of the week at all times, and then I figured out it was too exhausting to do stand up. And the job, so I was like, hey, I can only work Mondays, Wednesdays, Sundays. Those are like the days with the least amount of gigs. That I'd rarely gig on those days.
Yeah.
And then something's been coming up on Wednesdays. So last Wednesday, I had to tell her I can't do Wednesday, and then I just texted her an hour ago saying, hey, I can't do next Wednesday again. So, but it's also, since it's super value, I don't mind. Like if it goes away, it's just super value.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be so I'm kind of like in a weird spot where I kind of want money, but I also want to do stand up.
100%.
You know,
I mean, like, speaking as an old bastard who's like miserable and cantankerous, like I've got the worst of both worlds, where I kept my head down, I worked really hard. It's in an industry that has short-term contracts only and makes no fucking money. Animation, you're on for a project and you get like a pittance. So I'm like, the other side of it is going, right, I've worked really hard and I've made no money. Like, you're a funny motherfucker, you're doing well, you've got good traction, you've got the degree. I'm the worst influence in the world, where I would say just fucking double down on this for X amount of years, like give it 5 years, fucking hammer it and see what the fuck happens. Like that's the Jimmy Carr thing as well, isn't it? Like, he was marketing for an oil company and he said, I think he got made redundant, and he used that redundancy money to cover just doing stand-up aggressively for a year or 2 years.
And he started very late. I think he started when he was like 26.
Yeah,
it's not the latest.
The latest.
Yeah, but for his success, I think he got successful very quick.
Yeah.
So,
and he puts that, like, I like him as well as a, like, I don't know, I've been watching him for years as well, so like I like him as a comic, but I also like him now as kind of a quasi motivational speaker, because he just says like, look, I had the little buffer of that money, but I went out and I didn't do a gig a week. I did a gig every night I possibly could. I got 3 years worth of gigs in a year because I was working harder than people who were doing it kind of like as a hobby.
Yeah. And isn't there like I swear there's like something he said, there's like a statistic that over 365 days there might be like 30 days where he's not gigging or on tour or something crazy like that. Like, he's a work animal.
Yeah.
You know?
So like, if you're in a position to just hammer it crazy hard now, do because like you're pursuing something that's magic if it works, and like, I don't know, you can always be miserable at a job when you're older. Okay, well, like, this is a like movie and media based kind of podcast. Do you like, my last guest that I was talking to is like a big D&D head, but he's like, I don't really watch movies or TV, and I was like, oh, okay. But are you like a movie TV person, or are you music? Where do you take your entertainment from, I guess?
I'll say I've always been movie TV, except for the last couple, maybe 1 or 2 years. I don't know, is it just me, or has the movie TV industry been a bit more dead? Like, I was just a big Marvel fan. Marvel hasn't been doing well the last couple of years. I feel like there hasn't been a massive hit TV show. Like currently I'm rewatching Breaking Bad, like, and I love that show. But I don't think there's any, like, do you watch Marvel?
I do, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I loved WandaVision, and that was one of my favorites. But since then, there's not too much that's really been getting me too interested. Yeah,
the Marvel thing, like, we definitely talk about the Marvel thing, where, like, when you think about when that started in like 2008, 2009, like, there'd be a movie every year. Maybe, and then they reached a point where it was like 2 movies a year, and it's like, cool, okay. But in the last 2 years with these TV shows, Disney owning it, especially with Star Wars as well, they've gotten to a system where it's like, you watch 6 weeks of a show and then a movie comes out, and then there's 6 weeks of a Star Wars show, and then like a movie comes out, and then there's 6 weeks of the next Marvel show, and like they've got this fucking cycle where there's actually no break, there's no anticipation, there's no like, oh, the next Marvel thing is coming. It's like, so I'm hoping this writer's strike and this actor's strike and actually just a bit of fucking cop on at this point is going to make them think, let's slow this down and make these better, because it's been ropey. Had you a favorite Marvel property?
Pardon?
Have you a favorite like Marvel thing, I guess?
Like franchise, I guess I wasn't the biggest fan of the character at the beginning, but the Captain America series really, like, I loved Winter Soldier. Civil War was really what got me into wanting to do screenwriting and all that.
Cool.
I loved that one as well. Even though Marvel has been going down since you mentioned it, I never watched Star Wars before. Never watched it before the pandemic. Never really. I think just because it all started before my time.
Sure.
Like they do the.
What age are you? I'm bad at maths.
I'm just 23.
Okay.
Just turned 23. Yeah.
Okay.
So like all the like, what's it called? Like don't they do them as a series like Star Wars 1? Then there's a sequel. And I just couldn't be bothered going back to the beginning. So I started watching the Mandalorian. And I love that show. Yeah. And I've watched a couple more of the Star Wars TV. I just love them because they're separated from the actual show. I don't actually need to know what's going on. Yeah. So I do just watch them, and then I'll go online and I'll watch the Easter eggs, which would explain all the background stuff of, oh, this is what happened in 1997. Yeah. Which is why they referenced it here, and I'll be like, oh, that's kind of sick. Yeah. But yeah, how about you? Do you have a favorite Marvel?
Like, I got a stack of comics in my house, and
do you still collect all of comics?
I've tapered off in the last few years just because like it's you just end up building mountains of stuff, you know. When you're a kid, you're just buying and buying and buying, and then it's just like I could turn this camera around and show you like shelves of toys and stuff. So it's like, it's not really an argument that like I don't know if you can see down like there's like video game cartridges on that shelf, like N64 and stuff, and like comics. There's just silly shit all over this room. But like, I need no more silly shit. I can buy digital versions. I can download and fill hard drives with the movie. I need no more physical things. I am overstocked with.
What was your favorite comic book series?
So growing up, like I'm a huge Batman fan. I love Batman. I loved it. But one day I was like moving the comic books around. I was like, I own 5 times as many Spider-Man comics as I do Batman comics. I was like, I guess I like Spider-Man more. And it's been good. Spider-Man era between the Tom Holland movies are cool, and the like video game stuff has really stepped up in the last few years as well.
Did you see the Blade game announcement? Actually,
I saw the trailer. It looks cool. Well, like, it's a cool looking trailer. They did something similar. I don't know if it's the same company with Wolverine as well.
Yeah, I think that's Insomniac that's doing Wolverine. I think so. I'm not too sure.
But like, that'd be class. That would be amazing. And it looks like the little setup of the world is like there's a curfew. People have to stay inside. So obviously there's a vampires. I don't know. They take over the city or something, and people know to be in and out. And like, that's cool. That's a cool mechanic. Did you watch the Blade movies?
No, didn't watch the Blade movies either. I'm really looking forward to the new one that's meant to be coming out. Yeah. Well,
Mahershala is great. Like.
Yeah, but I think I've seen some of there's like rumors that they're having production issues or something, so they're not sure if he'll stick around. But I hope it comes out. It looks exciting.
They've ditched the entire script, and the director went.
Oh wow.
Apparently, like, I don't know. Like, I hate also like perpetuating bullshit that you read on the internet, but the suggestion is that when they looked at the script, they had a female lead who was our protagonist and our hero, who runs into Blade and is observing the story, but they're the like lead, and it's kind of like, this is a Blade movie. Can we just have Blade be the lead, please? And you've cast a fucking kick-ass actor, and you've got a good director. Can you just write a movie where Blade is the lead and he's just awesome? Yeah, it's the Blade movie. Just make the Blade movie. I'm perfectly happy to watch Fury Road and have Furiosa be amazing. Like, write amazing female characters. I'll watch the movies. I watch fucking everything, but it's a Blade movie. Let it be Blade.
Yeah, because I think that's the big problem that really affected Marvel. I think Marvel started to move towards like having a Marvel feel for movies. It's because I was watching some of the older movies, and they all feel very individual. Like even like one of my favorite ones was Ant-Man because it just was a heist movie
Yeah.
in a way. So I kind of love that. But now when I watch them, it just seems like it's just the same thing recycled with the same jokes. Not every one of them has to be funny and have humor. Just let them be serious. So I kind of would like if the Blade one, is it PG or is it?
I mean, I think they have to do something, right? Like they've
Yeah.
like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the first one to say fuck in it. So they let Sean Gunn do something, James Gunn do something. I guess it's tiptoeing a little bit towards it. They've apparently said that like the new Daredevil show is going to be a little more adult oriented. So they're trying to like, I guess maybe somebody's realizing that you need to do something a little different. Did you see Werewolf by Night?
Oh, I heard about that, but never actually. I've been meaning to check out. It's on Disney Plus,
It's
right?
on Disney Plus, yeah. That's a fun one because it's just like a 50-minute thing. It's a werewolf character from the 70s. Like Marvel just used to own loads of properties of comic books, and they just like Marvel just printed comic books, and they would print horror comics, and they would print romance comics, and they would print sci-fi comics, and they would print Conan the Barbarian. And by the time the movies come along, they're like, Marvel makes superhero movies. And it's like, Marvel should be a studio that can make like a sword and sandal epic and a sci-fi movie and a western. Like they've got western characters. Go make a western, but make it a straight western. It doesn't have to be a superhero. Like make a good western movie. Be a studio. You're a studio. You know.
Yeah.
But like they just did this standalone thing with I think it was Gael Garcia Bernal as the lead, unless I'm mixing up my South American actors or Spanish actors. But it was cool, and it was shot in black and white, and it's got a weird Halloween vibe, and there's monsters and stuff, and it just felt different, and it was nice to see something feeling a little different.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out this weekend actually.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sounds sick. Yeah, I heard it's good.
Do you play much video games?
Once again, it's kind of the same. Not as big into as I was, mainly because I feel like last big game I would have played was Fortnite. I played a bit of the new Spider-Man. My brother just got a PS5.
Right.
So I played that. I watched the GTA 6 trailer yesterday, and I thought it looked good because I'm also not the biggest GTA fan. For GTA 5, just because I think when I got it, it was a couple years after it released. And when I got it, I was just like, oh, I feel like there are games with better gameplay mechanics than this. It kind of seems like the animations are dated, but I don't know. They're big for their online stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite games actually is Red Dead Redemption. So if GTA 6 is anything like that, I love it. Like that's great. How about you? Do you play one?
I mean, through the whole pandemic, I was playing Call of Duty with mates. That was like almost like a support group for fucking isolation. You know, you just get on and just shoot the shit in the evening. But I played, a lot of Nintendo stuff growing up.
Do you play Pokemon?
I played Pokemon back in the day. I got a red Game Boy Color, and I played Pokemon Red. Like, I'm that OG on the Pokemons. But I think there definitely is a thing as well where it's like once you start doing shit, like once you like going and doing stand-up comedy, and like trying to write that and trying to do your job and trying to like have friends and relationships and everything else, you'll still love movies and you'll still love games and you'll still whatever. But it's like they start to be like, I'm aware of it, I just haven't spent 140 hours playing it.
Yeah, it's quite annoying.
Yeah.
It is quite annoying. But what games would you recommend then for right now that have come out recently?
Oh man, I'm not the guy. Like Brian's the game guy who could tell you because he's playing stuff live. The new Spider-Man game came out, and that's like, it's class. I've just watched a lot of videos of it, but like I couldn't tell you what to play. Like that's the thing. It's like I'm just sort of a superficial level at this point, I play Call of Duty, and Baldur's Gate is like watching videos of it and like knowing my D&D friends that are playing that. Like it's fun role playing stuff. Like have you ever played D&D? No. Let's see what came out in 2023.
Have you played God of War?
Oh yes, yeah, class, absolutely amazing. And I played the PS2. Like the only reason I bought a PS3 because it had a Blu-ray player in it, and God of War 3 was on it. and I was like, yeah, I gotta go fucking get that.
Yeah.
You playing? I mean, I guess 4 and Ragnarok, like, are the ones on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, but I'm also, I think I'm a bit of a, actually got a, I'm a bit of a rager, I'll say, when it comes to video games. Like, I didn't think I was, but it's something that's been happening a lot more recently. I think it's because when I was, like, younger and had a lot more time on my hands, I'd always play the games on the hardest difficulty.
Right.
Because I have the time to die 1,000 times and I'll just play every day for hours.
Yeah.
I remember I used to get headaches from losing so much and I'd have to put it down and go outside. But now, if I play, it'll usually just be before a gig or be my one day off, and I'm like, oh, let me play. And I'll still put it on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah.
And if I die 4 times in a row, I'll be like, fuck this shit. I'm turning this shit off. What am I doing? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to watch TV. I'm not going to spend my time losing a video game. So I think that's kind of what happened with Ghost of Tsushima was another one that I was playing.
Gorgeous game. Gorgeous game.
That I loved. But both of them, I don't even think I completed either of them. I spent hours on them, but just kept on dying.
Just put it on the hardest. Yeah, that's a I think that's a meme even about, like, you're aging out of video games, where you just lower the settings, or just like, I just want a story mode. I just want to walk through the game and, like, I'll hit the bad guy and move on, and, like, I just want the experience of playing the game.
I'm gonna have to start bringing the difficulties down, because I actually did love them games. But...
Yeah, well, that's kind of like, look, it sounds crap, but, like, that's a little bit of the trade-off. Like, I definitely did that when I was younger. Was just like, if I'm going to play the game, I'm going to set it at the highest difficulty, and then I'll just get good enough to play at that level.
Yeah,
I'm not going to, like, if I set it at the lowest, then it's going to be harder when I set it up. I'll just set it, and then if I want an easier experience, I can set it down a bit, because I'm really good at playing it at the hardest level. And
I guess, because then it's always annoying, because my younger brother would play the games and he'd complete the hardest difficulty and be playing New Game Plus, where they, like, have all these restrictions to his stuff, and I'll be watching him furious, and I'll be trying to, like, rally him on. Like, anytime he dies, I'll be like, you're a trash, man. Like, you're so bad. Even though I couldn't do half of what he's doing. But it's one of them ones where I also think if stand-up did go well and I did have the time, I would try do it a lot more.
Play games?
Yeah, just sit down and just...
Nah, you'd Jimmy Carr. If stand-up started going well, you'd just start doubling down on writing and do twice as many gigs. Because you start bringing in Jimmy Carr money.
Yeah. Oh, man. Wait, what big comics have you seen? Have you seen many big comedians live?
I saw... I'm just trying to remember, because I was like, I saw Chappelle when he was in the 3 Arena.
Oh, when was this? Was this last year?
Probably. I feel like I'm. I feel like I'm.
Or was it 2 years ago?
No, this was before the pandemic. Hold on. Right. Dave Chappelle, Dublin, with Jon Stewart and
Chris Rock.
Wolf. What's her name? Michelle Wolf. Dave Chappelle, Dublin, Jon Stewart. I mean, that was 2018. That was October 2018. It's Dave Chappelle, Jon Stewart, and Michelle Wolf. Around the same time, I saw Louis C.K. out there. I saw John Mulaney in Dublin there at the start of the year.
I heard his show was great.
His show's amazing. His show, I really like. I don't know, like, have you watched Mulaney's stuff?
One of my favorite specials is Kid Gorgeous at Radio City.
Yeah,
I've rewatched it so many times.
Yeah, I was that with the Comeback Kid. Such a great special. It was so good. It was so good. Like, I can watch that set now on Netflix, but I know what he did in Dublin. I know the first 20 minutes where he spent shitting on Belfast.
I think, what's it called? I was talking to Ali O'Rourke about this, and she was talking about how great it was because she said that he lived in Dublin for a while. He went to Trinity or something.
I think it was, I feel like it was UCD, but he definitely did like a year in college here, or 2 years in college here.
Yeah, was he talking about the GPO or something like that? Yeah, she said it was amazing. That was crazy.
Yeah, there was a moment where he said something about, like, I was doing the gig in Belfast and I was trying to make this joke work, and I was talking to them and they weren't helping me, and I tried to negotiate with them. You know what they're like. And it's like, you know what it's like negotiating with the north of Ireland. It's like, it's such specific.
That's genius.
And it's like, well, that's not going in the special, but it's like, the stuff was great because we know he'd lived here and we know he'd had enough experience of what Dublin was. Like, he's told stories about, like, I think doing coke on the top of the 46A or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Jesus Christ.
But like, it was lovely seeing him do that show and how relaxed he was. And then there was one heckle in the whole show, and it was right before he delivered like the closing line, you know. And if you've seen that special, he just goes, it's something like,
is it the intervention part?
Yeah, but it's at the. I think the last line he has in the sort of the set is, "Oh, you want to cancel John Mulaney? I was going to kill him." You know,
yeah,
and he's just getting to that, and then somebody upstairs goes, "How much was the watch you bought?" And he was like, "You see his eyes go, looks to it, and you could like." He's such a pleasant, chipper, happy, bouncy fella, but also you just saw the rage behind his eyes as you just stepped on the closer. And he now had to, like, he answered the question, kind of chastised the guy for heckling, and then had to circle. He had to, like, do an additional, like, 5 minutes to get us back to that energy so that he could finish out the bit. And it was lovely seeing, like, it feels... I don't know, I feel slightly bad going my favourite part was when somebody fucked with him, but it was lovely seeing the guy deal with that and be so good at what he does that he was just able to, like, I'm going to play this off, I'm going to address it, and I'm going to pull some other material that lets me sort of pad out what I was doing to get me back to where I need to be so I can end the show on the high that I need to. And it was lovely to see.
And I bet you he beat himself up so much for that, because he probably came off stage and was like, this fucking watch, I shouldn't have wore something so flashy that would distract the audience. Fucking hell. Like, that's very, very funny. So is he the best person you've seen then live? Best comedian live?
I think I'm going to say just because like the experience of it was amazing. Like he picks his theaters really well. He's like, he loves a theater instead of a stadium, you know, and he'll play, as far as I know, he'll play 10 nights in a theater rather than do a stadium once.
Oh, so where did you see him?
The Olympia.
Oh, I assumed it was just the 3 Arena.
No, it's the Olympia. And it's like, I haven't seen Bert Kreischer or Tom Segura, but they both played Dublin within like 3 months of each other. And they both, I think they both announced the Olympia. And then once tickets sold out, they said, oh, we're moving to the 3 Arena in succession. So it almost felt like they were just like fucking around to just go, look how popular these people are.
Yeah.
Like, but it's such a better experience in a, like, you know yourself, stand up in like a big open room isn't as good as like when everyone's tight together and the ceiling's a little lower, and like in a stadium versus like a theater when all like you got all of those like balconies a little closer looking down on them, and like it was great.
Yeah, because I even heard the Vicar Street is one of the best venues. A lot of big comedians say they would love to. Someone, I was talking yesterday with Ali, and she said a pretty big comedian said it was their third favorite venue. Cool. I think it was Mark Maron. Said it was Vicar Street was his third favorite venue to play. Yeah. So that's like a big one. I'd actually love to see a couple shows in. Yeah.
What's the favorite you've seen?
Mine, the only 3 big comedians I'd seen was Chappelle last year, 2 years ago, probably. Yeah, last year. Chappelle, Segura at the 3 Arena, and Andrew Schultz just there like 2 months ago at the 3 Arena.
I was just watching the clip of Andrew Schultz from, like, I have a folder of like funny shit I've saved off of TikTok, and I just saw the clip of him in armor the day after Smith hit Chris Rock.
Oh yeah,
and he's just roasting Will Smith for like 4 minutes. Anyway,
that's funny.
How was that?
They're all great, but I think the best one was Segura. Okay. I think he was the best act of the 3 of them. The rest, like Chappelle was very good. Andrew Schultz was very good, but Segura, I don't know what. I think it was because I wasn't even a big Segura fan when I went into it.
Yeah,
it was just that what's his name? Do you know Pádraig McAuliffe? He's a Cork comedian. He's living in Limerick now.
Okay, I don't know that I do.
Yeah, he was just at the show. He had a free ticket. He was like, "Do you want to come?" I was like, okay, I'll come." He's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I watched it. It was a great show.
Cool.
And I've been a big fan of his. So wait, who's your favorite comedian right now? Like working comic?
The person I am most enamored with at the moment is Taylor Tomlinson.
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
And I said this talking to Madeline as well, that like after that last special, I think it was called Look at You. I watched it and then I watched it again and I sat there and I went, okay, I've laughed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Punchline. 1, 2, 3. And it was like every 5 or 7, like it was, you could count the beats between laughs, and it was also very like it was little laugh, little laugh, little laugh, big laugh, little laugh,
Yeah.
little laugh. It was like, and her wordplay was spot on, her physicality was spot on, her like act outs, her faces, like she just did a full range of like just facial expressions, physical action, like it was. I love it. I think she's great.
Yeah, she's a fantastic comedian. One of my favorite specials is actually her Quarter Life. Right, that was the first thing I ever watched from her, and I was like, "That's so," and to be so young as well.
Yeah. I was gutted. Like, as much as I was really excited to go to Chicago, she announced she was playing the Sugar Club in Dublin a week after my flights. Now, I think that got moved to Vicar Street, but I was just like...
I was going to say.
I think that got... But, like, in my head, it was like, the Sugar Club?
Yeah.
Like, that would have been a great gig. Like, it would have been bad for her fucking ticket sales, but, like, that would have been so class.
Yeah, because I remember seeing when they announced that, and I was like, Sugar Club, I feel like she could play a bigger venue than that. But did that show ever happen? I swear, I can't remember.
I think it happened at Vicar Street, yeah. Yeah. But, like, there's no backstage to the Sugar Club. She just has to walk up on stage and then see her up at the bar after.
That's so...
You suggested that we talk about the movie The Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That was your suggestion. The Santa Claus or Elf. And you seem to have looked at both fairly recently, or thought about both fairly recently. So
I've had them on my mind.
You've had them on your mind. So I got through The Santa Claus on today. I saw that in the cinema in 1994 or 5.
No way. Really?
Yeah, it was like I was enwrapped. It was magical. I was a little child going, "It's the Santa Claus." I loved it. I loved it. It was like one of my childhood Christmas movies. You had yet to be born. You were not yet a twinkle in your father's eye. Tell me about, like, what's your relationship with the Santa Claus? When did you see it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it a family tradition?
It's not even it's something I watched when I was like, I don't even think I was that young. I might have been like 7 or 8 when I first watched it, and it's just one of the movies that I was just like addicted to. I just love the idea of it because no one really talks about, like, has the idea of Santa of, if he dies, somebody else has to take his spot. So I love that. I kind of love the he gets like gradually fatter and fatter and fatter, and I kind of love the costume design and the idea of the elves. And I think I just like Christmas movies that kind of like subvert the usual, because usually it's just Santa's whatever. But I kind of like this guy having to take over the role, and he doesn't really want to do it, and then he eventually gets. Same with like the Elf movie. I was just a big elf guy, and it's just movies that always make me feel like very nostalgic. Like there are very few movies that really get me like, oh man, I miss the good old days. But those would be the only ones, and I love the sequels to Santa Claus as well. I thought they were very, very good.
Yeah, the first one's got that slightly grimmer, like 90s aesthetic, like people in suits, and like it's very it is what it is, and it's got like he's making like pretty, like, I don't know, there's jokes in it about, like, you know, Veronica, very nice, you know, naughty and nice, you know, Charlie, naughty, Stephen, nice, Veronica, and, you know, like, you know, we'd like to thank George and his wife, who isn't here today. That's why his secretary is sitting in his lap right now. Like, there's little jokes that, like, I don't know necessarily if they'd put those jokes in things, especially a kids' film today. But by the time you've got the sequels, they're very just like fun, sweeter kids movies, and like they built the extended Santa Claus universe. Now they have the TV series. Have you seen any of that stuff?
Whole universe. But I remember once ago, I think one of the like things I have that really stands out in my mind is, I think it's the final time he's gonna go off. He's gonna like go out and do. I remember also the reindeers were quite weirdly animated. Like they were a bit. I think they had like very human like facial features. That I thought were kind of weird but funny at the same time. But they move weird. But what's it called? I also love there's like this scene where they just had like shots that were like weird, but they're also wholesome at the same time. Like a shot that always stood out to me was like he's about to go off on the sleigh from North Pole, North Pole, I think is where it's based. And this kid like runs over to him and gives him like something. I can't remember what it was, but I just remember it being such a, I don't know, it just stuck out to me so much because it was kind of like sweet. Like, it was just a way. It was something that I think you would see in a maybe more indie budget thing, but to have it in a big Hollywood movie of just a kid, or even another shot would be like, I don't know what they were. It was like a radar or something in Norpol, and it like came out and it would like survey the land or something.
Oh, okay, that's in the second one, I think, where the periscope comes up out of the ground. And just like, there's like an airplane overboard, or there's people exploring the North Pole, and they're just like trying to keep people from finding Santa's workshop.
Yeah, I really like shots like that. Like, they were just like, they just stuck with me for some reason.
Well, it's stuff like trying to like modernize Santa stuff a bit is kind of fun, you know, like bringing real world technology or like concepts like periscopes and like the radar. The team of elves that are like the SWAT team that swoop in to help him with the jetpacks. I wanted an elf jetpack when I was 9 years old. I was like, I want to fly around the place.
I also thought it was hilarious how that first Santa died. Like, I thought that was the funniest thing on earth, of just the idea of Santa Claus dying, and he like slips off a roof or something.
Yeah, falls off a roof and breaks his neck.
That's so funny to me. That is hilarious.
I mean, I had it on again today. Every time I see it, I just think, yeah, these elves are your best friend, but also if you die, they'll welcome the next guy in without even missing a fucking beat. Because you just walk into the place and go, how's it going, Santa? And they don't even ask, hey, what happened to Steve that was Santa before you? Like, he just broke his neck and Obi-Wan Kenobi dissolved away like into nothing.
And no one gave a shit. That
no
shit
one gives a shit. 1,000 years of service, fell on his neck, never gets mentioned again.
That's so funny. No loyalists, that would actually be a funny idea for the movie if there was like some sort of civil war between people not wanting to switch to the new guard. They're like, no, we want to be loyal to our Santa. That's actually interesting.
Yeah, like there's a political power struggle over.
Yeah, and I love the scene. Yeah, I also love the scene when he's taken off on the roof. I don't know if that's the later ones, but I think it's the first one where he's taken off on the roof, and he's like, I don't know, they had like some weird not animations, but the way it looked.
Yeah, there was like 90s attempted computer generated animation. Like they barely got Toy Story to work. You know, they'd barely got plastic toys looking right, and they wanted to have fucking reindeer flying around. So there's definitely some ropey shots in it. Yeah, but
I think it adds.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it adds to it so much more, compared to stuff today. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that like it's still magical. It's like me being as saccharine and sincere about this as I possibly can be. It's like when he and the kid are out and the body disappears and they step back and they see the reindeer on the roof and the music starts to go and it's like, oh, it's so, like, the score is great. It's like really, I don't know, it's Christmassy. There's the little like jingle bells to it, or the like actual bells rattling in the background. It's nice. It's a
that's actually one. Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes as well. I love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. But one thing that actually surprised me the most, though, was then, becoming a stand-up years down the line and finding out that Tim Allen used to be a stand-up comedian as well. That was like, what? Like,
so one of the facts about this movie is this movie is the height of Tim Allen's career. Are you aware of that?
Oh, really?
Simply from the standpoint of he had the #1 book on the New York Times bestseller that week. Home Improvement was the #1 TV show, and The Santa Claus was the #1 film in the same week.
That is crazy.
This is peak Tim Allen.
Yeah. Do you think that's happened for anybody else, where they would have a top TV show, top book, and top movie all in the same week?
I don't know, but I love that I have that piece of trivia for you. And I'm just going to say it's only happened for Tim.
Yeah, because I didn't even know he was a stand-up until Netflix released like a bunch of weird like mini sets of his. Some of them I think were like 15 minutes long.
Okay. That was going to be my question. Was like, have you ever? I've never seen any Tim Allen stand-up. Is it? I bet that like a Home Improvement guy is in there. That that grunty like man character he's got.
I think I watched maybe 3-4 minutes, but I thought it was very dated.
Right.
Like, I thought it was very, very dated in the sense that I wouldn't find it funny, but because the crowd's cheering, laughing, I don't really have context of what it would have been like at the time. I don't know if he'd have gone away with the same comedy today, but at the time they all love. But didn't he get trouble for stuff?
Yeah. He got arrested with a pound of cocaine coming in over a border.
Damn.
And I think somebody said, I could be wrong about this. He got when people really want to shit on Tim Allen as well, they point on the fact that the reason he didn't do as much jail time was he immediately turned on everyone he could to get off. He, as far as I know, he just sold anyone and everyone out he could to get out of jail. Sentenced to 2 years and 4 months in federal prison.
He actually went. Oh, he did less time, but he actually went to prison for it.
Let's learn. Let's learn together. I'm gonna find out.
That's so odd to me though that wait, but he's cancelled, right?
Is he?
Because I don't see him in stuff. Does he still work?
See, cancelling is such a I don't think he's cancelled. I think he just. If he is cancelled, I don't know what for. I do know that I tried to watch the Santa Claus series just because I love the movie. Let's see what this is. And in the first episode, there were so many attempted jokes about diversity and pronouns that I was just is this what this show is? What? Yeah. Who are you aiming this at? Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it's me.
Yeah, I getcha.
Being reductive, it's this feels like it's aimed at Trump's voters. And I kind of bailed on it after that.
Because to me, the reason I'm asking, it's a bit odd for me with him because I don't see him in any other stuff or anything. And then I saw that he got in a bit of trouble or whatever. But I always thought if you were a movie star and you got in trouble, you just go back to stand up. I don't think you can get cancelled from stand up necessarily. Even Louis C.K., he's still touring. Not even if it's not as big as a scope as it was before, he's still probably making millions a year just off stand up. So.
Yeah, I would reckon, and I'm just I think the thing is that he's a real middle of the road 90s white guy comic that had a sitcom in the 90s that was huge. If I had to guess, and I'm just going to talk some shit here, he was probably in the era when sitcoms were syndicating like crazy, which means every time it airs to this date, you're getting lots and lots of money. So he's not hurting for money. So I don't think he's scrambling to make things that he doesn't want to make. He then had that show called Last Man Standing, which played on I think, let's see how many seasons that got. But that was basically the same thing again. It's just I'm the only type of real man going. This says 2011 to 2021. So did this run for 10 seasons and nobody fucking knows about it? So when you say you don't hear about him, it's I guess 9 seasons.
Wow. And he was hosting it.
It's a sitcom.
Oh.
It's a sitcom. So he made 9 seasons of a sitcom. He's fine. He's doing exactly what he's always done. Sitcoms and movies. Yeah, I mean, he's in Galaxy Quest as well if you're looking for some classic Tim Allen content. Did you ever see Galaxy Quest? No. Can I recommend Galaxy Quest to somebody? I assume Star Trek. Do you watch Star Trek?
I know of Star Trek.
Yeah, you see, this is the thing. Galaxy Quest is a brilliant spoof of Star Trek. And if you've watched Star Trek, Galaxy Quest is such a perfect, fun spoof of it. Now, if you go watch Galaxy Quest now, it's a fun sci-fi movie, and it's funny. But do you quite get as much from it as knowing that Tim Allen is basically playing William Shatner, this over-the-hill sci-fi actor that really takes himself too seriously, and Alan Rickman's in it basically being Leonard Nimoy, this sort of overly serious theatrical Shakespearean guy that's kind of annoyed he's in a sci-fi so it's very kind of taking the piss out of Star Trek. And it's great. It's a fun sci-fi movie. I recommend it. I think it does work on its own, but it does have this other level once you have a little bit of Star Trek knowledge in it. That it's even because it's a late '90s thing before nerd stuff really took off in a big way. It's presenting Comic-Cons and nerds in like really taking the piss out of them, because that was like, you could be a nerd but you knew you were the butt of the joke in the 90s, you know. Now you go into every fucking shop, and from pennies to Brown Thomas, and you can buy some Marvel content, you know.
Really has taken off in a big way. It's interesting though. Tim Allen, that's interesting shtick.
Is there anything else you want to say about the Santa Claus other than you love it?
Probably not. I think not really.
You feel you covered it?
Yeah, I just love the movie.
Yeah,
I love it.
Elf is there as well. Elf is the one.
Elf is another big one. The scene with me is, I'm pretty sure this is Elf. Isn't there a scene with chewing gum where he like takes chewing gum from under that to me has always been one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in a show. Like, that's gross.
Disgusting and hilarious.
Yeah, but at the same time, they actually do make it look tasty. Do you think?
No.
It looks somewhat appetizing.
No.
Like,
I mean, if you're starved for chewing gum, I guess. So Elf is just celebrating its 20th anniversary. So they're re-releasing it into the cinemas now. So
really?
I think it's in cinemas for Christmas, or at least there's some screenings. For a 20th anniversary. I didn't see it when it was in the cinema. It's Jon Favreau is the director. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who directed Iron Man.
That's it. Yeah,
and he's in Iron Man too. Is he a happy guy?
He's happy.
Yeah.
So Favreau made Swingers and Zathura and Elf, and he kind of established himself as somebody who was like good at business, a good communicator, an effective director, a writer that understood his properties and made solid films with good heart in them. And then he made Iron Man and collaborated with the Marvel universe and became very instrumental in making that a solid universe. Somebody who, it's not just a business investment. We're not just making a movie. I care about the property. I need it to be this way because I need it to be good.
Yeah.
And that's what Marvel has had up until recently.
Endgame.
Is the idea that between Kevin Feige and Favreau, there were at least some people with a hand on a wheel steering a ship to make it good. Favreau's the guy behind Mandalorian as well.
Oh yeah.
And like,
was he a stand-up comedian as well before he started directing?
I'm going to double check that now because that would be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if he was a prominent one, but I think he might have dabbled.
John Favreau stand-up. Maybe he dabbled, but I don't see him. I don't see an immediate link.
So how did he get into all that?
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to be able to answer you, but I feel like hold on. Favreau attended college in 1994. There's a focus, but he dropped out, and he served as a talk show host on Independent Film Channel before deciding to move to Chicago and try his hand at comedy in 1988. Okay.
Would that mean stand-up though, or because I feel like I'd seen him in a documentary for something, maybe a Comedy Store documentary.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure.
Chicago's long been known for its rich history of improv. Second City.
Oh, yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's high chance he just did that. He's there off doing that. I kind of love his job. I'd love a job like his, where it's just
mogul.
What's the word for it? What do you say?
I said mogul. Like that guy's minted at this point.
Yeah, he's more like, what do they say? Is it multi-hyphenates?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he's kind of just in like different things, whatever he feels like doing.
Yeah, I think that like the multi-hyphenate thing is a bit of a trap as well, because like you know, if I think you have to get like really fucking good at one thing. Yeah. And like I'm a guy that is not doing that. I'm fucking drawing and trying to stand up and try and improv and I'm just doing fucking anything and everything that I enjoy. But like getting really good and really successful at one thing. Like, I don't think Favreau has. I don't think he has the. Well, no, I'm talking shit, because Swingers, I think he directed and wrote and starred in the fucking thing. So yeah, he's a multi-hyphenate. I've just met so many people who are like, I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a producer, I'm a stand-up, I'm a musician, I'm a this and the other. I can do whatever you need me to do. And it's like, okay, can you do any of them well? Like I know I say I'm all those things. It's like, can I do anything well?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But like, yeah, I don't know. Elf is great. Will Ferrell's amazing. I was just talking to somebody about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I don't know if you ever watched any of those Kevin Smith movies, but Will Ferrell is in that movie, but it's like before he was, really globally famous. He's just playing this weird park ranger character, and it took a minute before I went, hey, that's Will Ferrell. Like it took a few years later after like Anchorman and stuff to look back and go, oh shit.
I was just gonna say, it's crazy his come up.
And it's like, it can be funny as well because they didn't up until recently air SNL here. So like once they start airing SNL and you start realizing how many of the like comedy movie actors we see on TV are pipelined straight out of SNL into their careers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next, actually. Do you have any goals would you like to be a part of SNL in the future, or?
Would I like to be a part of SNL in the future? Yes. But like, I'm not in the comedy circuits that SNL draws from, like if you want to be on SNL, go and do a shit ton of improv, build a reputation in LA and Chicago, so that people, like the people that audition SNL, as far as I understand it, like they send scouts to, like, oh, this guy's pretty good in Second City, and they go and they see people a couple of times, and then they go, we want you to come to New York to audition. I don't know. I don't have any evidence or stories that I know of where people are just like, oh yeah, he was an open mic comic in Dublin, and they invited him to New York.
There's this thing though. Have you ever heard of the Just for Laughs festival?
Yeah, that's Canada,
so
right?
they do a thing called New Faces, right? And have you heard of New Faces? Yeah, so I think that's how they get a lot of the stand-up people from it, because I know
full of shit.
I know that a lot of their last cast was Marcelo Hernandez, Michael Longfellow, who just joined the cast, and they would have just done. I know Marcelo did Just for Laughs festival last year, and then maybe 2 years ago, and then got cast immediately after. Same with Pete Davidson. So like I think that's the main way if you're like a stand-up and you wanted to even Shane Gillis got cancelled from it. Did New Faces 2019, then was cast from it straight away. So that's that'd be a big one. That's kind of one I would love to do down the line. Just
so is that your goal? Well, I say that your goal, but like in your head, is it like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do New Faces, and I'm going to talk about SNL?
I don't know if they would. I don't really know how you would go, because for New Faces, they have a documentary on it on Amazon Prime that's actually really good. And they say that the audience for New Faces is about 400 people, and it's 200 industry, 200 normal audience members. But I don't know. I think they would approach the comedian. I don't know if you could be like, hey, I want to be on SNL, and they would come to you. But I don't know. I was reading.
I feel like. Oh, I'm talking shit. I'm just making stuff up. I was about to say, like, I bet I don't think there's a situation where Shane Gillis wasn't like, oh, I'd love to do SNL on that podcast somewhere, and he's doing sketch stuff, and he's doing all the things that let people know that he's kind of open to that idea.
Yeah, because even what's it called? I was gonna say, in the show, what's it called? Oh no, yeah, because even though, it probably could be a case where you could even ask after you've done the showcase, because Kevin Hart in his book talks about how Just for Laughs New Faces was his big break that really set him up, and he said he did it, and then he got to audition for SNL afterwards, and he didn't get it, but that someone else who did the showcase got as well. But it seems to be but it's a very long process to get into the New Face. Like, I think you have to audition, then audition like 2 more times after that before you can get through. But it's not a competition type thing. Like the guy in the TV show There's a guy who auditioned for New Faces like 10 times,
right,
and eventually got. But
I think there was an audition when I was in. I think the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago was doing an audition for Just for Laughs or something when I was there. I can't remember what it was, but I was just like, I was talking to somebody else, and they went, "Hey, this audition thing's happening here. If you want to come for the hang," like just like. I didn't end up going. I went to something else, and because I probably should have gone. It would have been a better like networking thing to get to know people, but I just went to do a set instead somewhere, and like somebody made a crack about like everybody who doesn't have an audition for Just for Laughs is here doing a set. You know what I mean? Like,
That's funny.
Yeah, they were throwing a little shade on. But like, throw as much shade as you want, motherfucker. But you didn't get an invite to audition, so you're just angry. You know what I mean?
Either,
yeah.
Well, so the Just for Laughing Faces would be a big one for me to try to. I'm thinking 5, 6, 7 years down the line. Like that would be a good ways off.
Yeah. Yeah. Or also just work your ass off and keep fucking, like, if you see the audition happening, fucking go for it, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's also an element of like, go for it, have them say you're not ready yet, go for it the next year, have them say you're not ready yet. You know, like, I know enough people. Like, I know people it's like, oh, I want to start an animation studio, but I'm not ready yet, so I'll maybe think about it in 5 years. And it's like, I don't think that's how it works, dude. I don't think you're ever ready for it. Like I have one person in my mind who said that, and I have one person in my mind who started an animation studio. And it's 5 years later, and he has a 5-year-old studio that's doing work, and the other guy does not have a studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the first 5 years were hell, but like, it's, you know, it's going to be 5 years of hell for the guy that starts 5 years later. You know what I mean?
True, yeah. But I also want to ask you, so when you were in Chicago, did you ever consider like just staying there for stand-up instead of coming back?
No. Like, I have no pathway to stay there legally.
Oh,
like, once you're over 35, getting a visa for America is near impossible. Yeah, you can go over now. That's another thing I always the minute I'm talking to somebody who's under 35 who has aspirations for either art or animation or performance, if you want to go to America, get that fucking J1 visa or get the like visitor visas or whatever the hell lets you go over there, and go over and use as much of it as you possibly can. And like, if you can do it for a year, if you can do it for 2 years, whether it's Canada or America or whatever, because I don't know what the logic is. I think it's a degree of like, once you're over 35 and you don't have like a fucking job or a wife and kid, you're just going to be a drain on our healthcare. You know what I mean? It's like, we want you in your prime working, spending, being a contributor to society person. Over 35, you're just like, this is going to just go downhill pretty quickly. Like, I got bad knees and a bad back. They just don't want me on their healthcare.
That's very funny.
It's a bit of the tears of my late adulthood. But yeah, I mean, if you have aspirations to go over there, like, get the J1 or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. There is a working visa, I'm sure, for you know, X amount of time. Go work and do stand up. Work and do stand up. I'd love to do it. I got I think it's a B2 visa or something like that, and it's kind of a business visa or an extended stay thing. So what I have at the moment is it's a 10-year visa, which means that I can go and be in the country for 6 months at a time.
Every year
for 6 months. Yeah, I can go and do that. Apparently, it still sounds so good to be true. I think it could be wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So there's a agreement. There's a holiday visa thing that is like 90 days. So you can always go over for 90 days, but you can't work. Is the thing. And that's the fucking catch of it. I can go over 6 months. I can't work, and if I start working, then they'll take that away from me.
What's the mental, like, what's the point of not letting the person work? Is it that they would want to stay?
They kind of don't want you sneaking off and staying. Like, I had friends there that would just drive Uber and stay. Nobody's going to ask any fucking questions. And it's like, that's a lovely idea, except if I do it and it goes wrong, I will never ever get back into this fucking country. So I would rather just color within the lines, and come back. There's part of me that's like, if I can make it work, like Chicago's cool, but 6 months of the year it's under snow. You know, so I can come back for the non-snow bits and then come home to Ireland for the winter. Like, that's not a terrible situation either. I just need to make enough money during the snow bits to cover going back over there.
Yeah, and is Chicago not somewhat sketchy? Is that not?
No, I mean, not really. Like as much as there's bad parts of Dublin, there's bad parts of Chicago. You know, it has a reputation, but like everywhere's got a reputation if you really want to paint the bad side of it.
Yeah.
You know, like don't go to the sketchy spots.
Yeah, because I know the main spot people always chat about is, like, I think it's called O Block. It's the part that people always say that's like a very dangerous, murdery part of Chicago. I think it's in the state, but yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm very like. I mean, John Spillan's probably the guy to talk to about Chicago as well, because I know he started there.
Yeah, and I think Mike Rice was there for a bit.
John,
as well.
like that was as much a door opener as anything else when I went there.
Really?
It was just like, yeah, I'm from Dublin, and immediately it was like, do you know John Spillan and Mike Rice? I was like, yes. I mean, I've met Mike Rice and I know Spillan a bit, you know what I mean? But like, if they ask, I'm like, yes, I do. So I mean, they're still well regarded over there.
Yeah,
they made a good mark. They are well liked.
Yeah, it's always crazy to think though the impact. They must have been killing there as well to still be remembered. Like, because I think that would have been 8 years ago. They would have been there, so still be remembered.
They're also good fun. Like there's the social aspect of that as well. It's just like after the gig getting drunk. Like I'm not that guy, which is like part of the problem with it. It takes me so long. Like you've seen me around Dublin. Like I'm not hanging in the bar long after, whatever. It takes me so long to get to know people. You know, like I definitely should have been like, oh, I did a set here. I should just stay in the bar now and drink and talk to these people. But I just get in my fucking head and can't just make small talk with strangers. And I just go, okay, I'm going to go on. Like whereas I'm pretty sure Spillan and Mike Rice were just like, we're drinking, let's...
I getcha.
One of my favorite gigs there was a place called Power Hour. And it was in the basement of a veterans hall. And like it was like $2 beers, and there was like a snake. What would you call it? There was a snake in the corner. There were a couple of snakes, and they would feed these things mice. And,
really?
Yeah, and there was like a jam band playing, so you'd have like bass, drum, and guitar like playing while you're doing stand up. And like if you're going well, they're playing stuff that supports you. If it's a shit joke, you'll get like a bum or like wah 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 wah. The whole place is comics. You're just it's just a heckle. It's just your entire set is like just if I don't know, if your material's good, you get your material out. If your material's wobbly, you spend your entire time fighting with the other comics about your material. And it was a good laugh. It was really a good laugh if you're able to just talk shit with folk.
Yeah, how long were the sets?
4 minutes. Uniformly, anywhere you would go, open mic sets, 4 minutes. Which was like, oh, everything in Dublin's a 5 minute. Cool, 4 is easy. 4 is fine. It feels very quick, but everything was a 4 minute. If you actually got booked sets, again, you get to know the promoters that are running get talking to people, tell them where you're from and stuff, and like, especially if you go over, like, because like, oh, I'm from Ireland and I've been doing this, that and the other, like you'll pretty quickly get someone go, oh yeah, keep in touch and I'll get you on wherever, and then you do like some of the like whatever, like I'm talking like I'm an authority, but I was there for fucking 16 weeks. Like I'm not an authority. I had some fun, but like I should have done way more of saying, hey, can I get on this show, can I get on this show, can I get on this show, but I was just trying to get reps in more than anything else, you know. Yeah.
And did you see any or gig with any bigger comics? That would any of them stop by and do spots or?
Within that community, yeah, nobody that I particularly knew. You know, there was some local stuff, but like nobody that I particularly knew. I wish I could. Even now, I'm like, oh fuck, I did go to see somebody who was playing like a basement near where I lived, and like this, I can't remember the fucker's name. It was like a full hour set, and the guy was great. Fuck, I'll have to double check that. Like it was definitely a name I recognized, you know, from like podcasts and shit. And it was a great set. But I was just even like, I was staying, the music, the comedy, the food, the culture of the city, like that sort of stuff was class. The people are lovely.
It's a multicultural.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like, I wasn't. It shows my ignorance that in my head in America, and like I'll show you my ignorance. Like, I know that there's a large Latin community, Mexico, California, Texas, Florida. I didn't think about the northerlymost point of the country as having a massive Latino community, and like the area I was in was like all the shops were in Spanish.
Oh wow!
I was like, oh cool, okay. Like, I'm going to a panaderia in the morning to get fucking pastries. Like, it's class. And like, you could, like, if I had had Spanish, I could have spoken Spanish in the area I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's pretty diverse, I guess. But there's like a real lively arts community, and like I was going to say, like, this gig was like somebody's basement. Like, it's run, like, it's got a doorman taking tickets. Like, it's got, like, I looked around at one point and I was like, obviously this guy's a sound engineer, because like the mics are set up perfectly around the room. Their speakers are set up beautifully. There's like 5 cameras catching this show from different angles, patched into a board, and this is somebody's house upstairs. Like, when people want to use the bathroom, they're just going up into their house.
Oh wow!
There was a band playing in the basement, and if you can imagine a full band playing in a basement, if that happened in Ireland, you'd be deaf. It would be just noise, but it was perfect. It was like just the right levels of volumes. It was just sweet music, and like the stand-up was like, I'm obsessed over the way this guy had his sound design worked. You know, it was perfect.
Yeah, sounds unreal. Sounds like a vibe in the basement as well.
It was cool. It was really fucking cool.
Well, how many people was it taking in? How many people were there?
I would say there were easily 40 people in that basement.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely sounds like an unreal gig.
25 to 40, let's say, there, somewhere in there.
Yeah, sounds unreal.
It was class. I have talked your ear off about Chicago. You have told me about your love of Elf and the Santa Claus. Is there anything you want to plug? If there's listeners that want to find you, where can they find you? What would you tell them to go to do?
You can follow me on Instagram at SU Comedy, and I stream live on Twitch. I'll actually be streaming after this, and I'll plug when I'm streaming on my Instagram, and I'll just watch random videos, music, crazy things. Yeah, that'd be
cool.
trailers. Yeah.
So what's you're at SU Comedy on Instagram, and on Twitch you are SU Comedy?
I'm just Shawn Uyosa.
Just Shawn Uyosa.
Yeah.
Cool. When I promote this on our Insta as well, I'll be sure to throw a link to your Twitch and your handle up in the thing as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
No bother.
Bye.
See ya, Aidan.